When has a gut feeling saved your life? Serious. When I was around 18, I was on a back road with some friends and a girl I didn't know was driving really fast. Now, I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie, and I have always enjoyed a calculated risk in the name of a good time. But on this occasion I told her to either slow the frick down or let me out. I literally had to start screaming at her before she listened and slowed down. A week later she crashed on that same stretch of road at 90 miles per hour, killing her and the 3 passengers of her car. Yikes. My husband is a state trooper and has always said the wreck that sticks with him the most was a group of 4 17-18-year-olds in a car speeding on the freeway. One of the kids was screaming and begging the driver to let him out. The driver pulled over and let him out as he and the other 2 passengers made fun of him for being a pussy and not wanting to have fun. A couple miles later, the driver flew off an overpass, went over the guardrail, and onto the freeway below, killing him and the other 2 passengers instantly and ejecting one out of the car. Luckily there was no one below that they fell onto. My husband always remembers that kid who demanded to get out and how terrified and shaken he was when he walked up on what happened and was able to explain that he was in the car with them just minutes prior and would have been dead had he not been a pussy. Stories like this is why I hate being driven by people I don't know well or trust. These crash photo montages from my high school prom still sticks with me today. Kids hitting a light pole going 125 miles per hour. Innocent pedestrians. Woof. Lump in my right breast. 43 years old. Clean mammogram 5 months earlier. I just knew. 4 different doctors told me it was nothing and to come back in a year. I did not and found a 5th. Yet, I had to argue my way into being diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of breast cancer. On the bright side, Thursday was my 5 years all clear date. Felt hinky about one of many growing skin spots. Took 6 doctor visits asking they look at skin spot, all saying it's nothing, don't worry, but cat sniffing the spot continuously made me worry. Took this evidence to new doc on day dermatologist happened to be visiting. My doc laughed it off like all the others, but said a dermatologist might be interested in weird shape. Dermatologist took one look, sniffed it, said get biopsy right now. Biopsy showed aggressive cancer under the skin. The spot was the iceberg tip. Got a big lump of meat cut out, but just in time. Glad you persisted. What a nightmare that must have been for you. But the dermatologist sniffed it? This may sound stupid, but do some types of cancer smell off? Not sure about cancer, but there's a story of a woman who was able to detect Parkinson's because she noticed her husband had a musky smell to him a bit before showing symptoms. They tested her by giving her 20 bags with people's shirts they wore for a day, with half being diagnosed with Parkinson's. She said she smelled Parkinson's on 11 of the shirts and so they chalked the last one up to being a fluke. However, the man who was a part of the control group did start showing symptoms of Parkinson's after. So, she was 100% accurate. I was taking my mum to a follow-up appointment from back surgery the month before. The freeway was closed due to a car accident and life flight was called to transport the people injured in the accident. The highway patrol was funneling everyone off of the freeway to the right side exit. I had the strongest feeling we needed to move to the left farthest lane, so I did. No more than a minute after I moved over, a garbage truck came barreling down the freeway and crashed into the car that was in front of us in the other lane so fast that it lifted the front end of the truck and it landed on top of the car. We were in a tiny sports car that would have crumpled like a tin can under the weight of a garbage truck and definitely would have killed my mum and me in a second. Glad you both are well and you trusted your feelings. Do you know what happened to the other drivers, passengers? Was the garbage truck driver somehow put responsible for it? I don't know what happened to the other people or the truck driver. All I remember is that they shuffled the test of us that were stuck on their freeway to the exits to get more emergency vehicles. Don't know if gut feeling or lucky coincidence. Decided I should empty the bin on my way to uni, which added maybe 10 seconds to my journey as the skip was 10 feet from my front door. Began my walk to uni and roughly 10 seconds of walking in front of me some idiot from the 3rd floor flat threw a load of glass out his window, smashing all over the path. What the frick was he thinking? Went to go catch the bus, saw the bus about to pull out from the stop, and I could have made it if I ran. Something told me not to catch it and just wait for the next one, so I did. Caught the next bus half an hour later. Now, I usually sit at the back of the bus on the driver's side, so that's where I sat today. A little way into the journey, traffic was slowing, and we got to the cause of it. A lorry had crashed into the bus I had missed, right into the back on the driver's side. Had I caught that bus, I wouldn't be here. Still gives me chills after 6 years. Something like this happened to my cousin. She was going to get a med school diploma, but missed the bus that took her to the ceremony. Later that day we found out that bus's driver fell asleep while driving and the whole bus fell into a canal next to the street they were driving in. I was like 8 or 9 when my parents took me and my younger brother to stay the night at my paternal grandparents' house, because they were in the middle of divorcing. They lived in a farmhouse that was connected to a barn, with machinery, gasoline tanks, and hay on the ground floor and furnished rooms on the floor above that, and the room we were supposed to stay in was in that barn. As soon as we went into the guest room, I was overwhelmed by panic and felt really dizzy. I turned around and just said that we will not sleep in that room, and we spent the night on the couch in the living room instead. Later that night, a gas leak in the barn ignited and almost the entire barn including the guest rooms on its top floor exploded. Maybe I had that weird feeling because the gas had leaked into the room already, but no one else felt anything, and I'm sure I would be dead if I hadn't noticed it. That sounds very possible. We had a house fire a year and a half ago, caused by electrical wiring in the bathroom. The day before it happened, my wife said she smelled something really weird in that bathroom. For some weird reason, hot wires have a fishy smell. For anyone that sees this, if you're driving your car and the air coming from your vent starts to smell like fish, your engine is overheating and about to blow. I think I was 10 or 11, and I was reorganizing my room, moving books and stuff around. I had been working on it all day, and during the process I moved a bookshelf on top of a dresser to give me more space and loaded it up with 2 encyclopedia sets and a bunch of other books. I ended up moving my bed parallel to the dresser and passed out from working on my room all day. I woke up a little while after 4 and was contemplating getting a glass of water and moving my bed, because it didn't look safe under the bookshelf. I finally got out of my bed and walked towards the door. Maybe 2-3 steps and boom, 1994 Northridge earthquake hit. The bookshelf instantly fell on my bed. I don't know if it would have killed me, but it would have really smashed me up. That's literally the best possible outcome. You didn't get crushed, and, I presume, the books and bookshelf were alright. Absolute win there, besides everyone and everything else affected by the earthquake. Sometimes it's the little victories. There was a guy in college who was really into me, and he seemed fine on the surface, very sweet, always helpful and wanting to do things for me, but my gut said this guy was bad news. Welp, later he went to prison for beating up his pregnant girlfriend, and this killing his child. I was staying at a friend's house out in the country. He was asleep in another room. I was dozing off with his gigantic pit bull Isabel. Sweet girl. In the middle of the night I am awoken by sounds outside, like scrabbling. Izzy leaps up too, looks at me then the back door and growls. My friend at the time had a young daughter, 4 or 5, so I immediately think of her. I grab the nearest weapon, which is a fire poker, and go to open the door as Izzy is beside me seemingly ready for a fight. But it didn't feel right. I instead bar the door best I can and creep to a window looking out. Outside is a gigantic bear. So big it could easily rip my head off, and it has a few cubs in tow. I watch as it ambles off. I am pretty sure that if I had charged out of the door as I originally intended, me and Izzy would not be here today. Told this one before, but I'll tell it again. I was at a pub party being held for my boyfriend's father, but I had a headache that wasn't going away. I had been drinking, but I wasn't drunk. I was just feeling like crap. So I made my excuses and left to walk home alone, as I didn't want to ruin his night with his dad. It was a 10-minute walk, if that, from the pub to our house, and it wasn't properly dark yet. I walked down the street and passed a man sitting on a wall drinking a beer. A minute after I passed, I heard the bottle smash and then footsteps a little while back. Nothing unusual. It was a main road and there was another pub further along, but something in my gut was screaming something was wrong. So I hurriedly walked to the pub and stopped outside to ask the smokers for a light and a chat as I smoked. I watched him pass by me and then stare at me from across the street for an uncomfortable amount of time. With my gut screaming at me, I asked a bouncer working the doors if he could order me a taxi. A few weeks later, while in the town center, I saw a mugshot of the same dude wanted for rape. I was asleep one night and woke up really having to poop. While I was pooping, an earthquake hit and my dresser fell onto my bed where I would have been sleeping. Don't know if I would have died necessarily, but that gut feeling definitely saved me. I had a similar situation where my dad was going to fix something on the ceiling of my room and had to go into the attic. He had me sit right below where he was going to work so that I could help him find the correct spot in the attic. But I had to go to the bathroom, so I quickly went, and when I came back my dad had fallen through the ceiling and was sitting in a pile of drywall and insulation in the exact spot where I was sitting. He ended up being pretty much perfectly fine besides a couple scratches and bruises. But if I was still sitting there I probably would have been seriously hurt if not killed, cause I was only in elementary school at the time.